Hello everyone, welcome back to RCH Builders. So today we are going to start with the putting down the floor. We've got the ceiling painted in here, all the walls painted and all the fixtures in. It's down the basement here. And we'd moved the washing machine and dryer down here and hooked it up, tested it, make sure it works good. But we are getting ready to put in the LVP flooring. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure your floor is good and clean. I've done that. I usually only do it in sections, so you can see I basically swept it real good up to here and scraped and everything. The reason why is because if you sweep the entire floor, which I did a pre-sweep of it and got most of the big stuff, but if you sweep the entire floor and then go, you can't just keep rolling with it because little tiny bits of dust on your feet, little things just fall off. So you need to re-sweep it before you put down each one of these rolls of underlayment. And I've had lots of people, manufacturers included, who will say that this waterproof vinyl planking, this brand, and there's a few others that are, they say, oh, well, it's already got a pad on it, so you don't need to put down a pad. Again, as far as that goes, it says you don't need to. It doesn't say you can't, and it doesn't say, anything like that. So I still prefer to, especially on a concrete floor, to put down the pad. It gives extra cushion and helps float out anything. And also this pad helps with a little bit of moisture barrier. So I still prefer to do it. Again, it's another one of those things, just go with a little bit extra. So you don't have to, but you can do extra. So there's no reason not to, really. It doesn't tell you can't. So I'm going to get started with this. Typically, you're going to want to pick, which with a flooring that's on joist, you're usually going to want to run your flooring perpendicular to the direction that the floor joists go. That usually helps it float out across there and have less cases of bowing and buckling. But when it's on a concrete slab like this, you can decide on your own which direction you want it to go. And I think because of the length of the door here, I'm thinking that running the flooring this way is just going to look a lot better and going through the room this direction. So that's what we're doing with this. It'll also match the direction of the stair treads, which of course are over that way, but you can't really see it right now. And then it'll just continue on through all the way back. Just the flooring lengthwise will go this way as it goes through. So I think it'll look good. We'll have to start with this here and just work our way through, and then when we get probably after I put down about 3 or 4 of those, we'll have to move everything onto it that we have left here. It's just a few little things that we can't quite get out of here, which I would like to do, but unfortunately we can't. When you're doing this snap together flooring, the first 3 or 4 rows are usually going to constantly want to come apart. They're a little bit difficult sometimes to work together. Sometimes the 3rd row stiffens it up a lot, but the 4th row definitely stiffens it. And you want to maintain a gap around the room for it to breathe and move, but that gap does not have to be continuous. Like, you can still get up close to there as long as you leave plenty of gap on the other side for it to breathe. Also, it's going to breathe less if the long waist is this way. It's going to expand less this direction usually than that way with this flooring. But also, another thing that a lot of people don't realize is, as long as the board can slide under the sheetrock, you don't want to slide it on the sheetrock, and I don't slide it on the sheetrock. But if it can, that alone gives you a 1/2 inch of expansion where the sheetrock is. It can slide under, it can constantly, as it expands, go under the sheetrock and then come back. So that gives you expansion just right there. So you can still get your cuts real close to the wall and still have the expansion. Now, if there's a baseboard already down and you're going on top of that and there's no room for it to slide under the baseboard, you're going to want to maintain at least a 1/4 inch gap around there. Usually a 1/4 inch is good because then your shoe mold or quarter round will still cover it when you put that in. So this is not required either, but it is a Tongue&Groove flooring adhesive that you can use to help glue the seams together. In a lot of cases, most people may not want to do that, but if you have kids or pets, they have a tendency to just slide and really tweak and jerk on those seams a lot. And so there's just a lot more wear and tear on the flooring, and it has more apt for that to end up separating at the seams. So this just helps keep that from happening. For cutting this, there's multiple options. I've just used a chop saw lots of times just because we usually have it and you can just set it on there and just cut it real quick. You can also use a square. If I can find one. And just a utility blade. So if you're not doing this a lot and you don't have a chop saw, of course, you just want to do this in your own house. And I'm just randomly doing this at a random spot because it's just to give me a second row starter. Once I have like 2 or 3 rows down, I'll have cut off pieces from the other end, and those cut off pieces I'll use for starters on the other side. And then you can just snap it. So, they say you can use a chop saw, you can simply score it and snap it. If you're just doing this one time in your house, that's probably your best option. Of course, cheapest option, you probably have a utility knife anyway, and good chance you have a square. If not, I mean, a square is really cheap, so. And you don't have to use the square. You can use a level, just anything to help you cut a straight line, or you can even eyeball it. With how close with having that expansion joint at the wall anyway, you could just freehand it. Even if you're off a little bit, it's not going to really hurt anything. The end seam is going to get covered up. But if you're cutting like against a doorway or against somewhere where it's going to be right against it, you'll probably definitely want to use a square or a straight edge. Another option, if you do this a lot, is they do have a snapping tool. And it just snaps it for you. It has a tendency of not being real straight. You can tweak that a little bit, but that doesn't really, I think when they designed it, that should have been longer, but it does work. And so that just snaps it, which is real simple and easy, but unless you do this flooring all the time and are doing it as a contractor, I don't know that you want to pay the money for it because it is, I can't remember how much exactly it costs, but it's definitely more than just a razor blade or a chop saw or, well, not more than a chop saw, but if you already have a chop saw or a skill saw, you're more apt to have those and have multiple uses for it than this thing. Alright, so that's the first 3 rows, which has seemed to stiffen it up a lot. I'm probably going to sweep out and put down another layer of this stuff here before I continue, so then I can do like 4 rows across at a time. And but at least we have those starter pieces to work with now.